ברצוני לקדם ברכת ברוכים הבאים לכל הנמצאים כאן הבוקר. A very warm and gracious welcome to Temple Beth Israel this morning as we celebrate Yom Shabbat, Shabbat Bechukotai. We begin our service on page 192. At this moment, as we begin our service, I invite Simon forward together with his boys, Sebi and Rafi, in order to present them with their talitot, symbols of their new Jewish responsibilities.
Thank you, Rabbi. All right, so we'll start with you, Sebi, because you're going to go black this time. You chose this talit that Mum and Dad bought you. Sebi, I'm so proud of you. I know you're not one that likes being thrust into the limelight like you are today, but you're going to do a great job, and you've worked very hard all year for this moment. And whatever you do, we're going to be so proud of you, and I can't wait for you to be bar mitzvahed. So here's the bracha first, as you put it on the Hitat F1. You know that one?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehitatef b'tzitzit.
Amen.
Amen. There you go. Fits like a glove, hey? Very nice. That's your uniform, as we learnt the other day. And Rafi. So, Rafi, you have really been fantastic as well, learning this past year for your bar mitzvah. Again, I'm super proud of what you've achieved and what you've learned. You've really put yourself in it. I probably shouldn't be surprised because I was thinking last night of how proud, the emotion and feeling you put in when you sang to us. I know you're not going to like me mentioning it, but when you sang that song, True Colours, it was one of the most emotional moments in my life. And I was so looking forward from that moment onwards to today when I can see your true colours again. So thank you so much for doing everything.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehitatef b'tzitzit.
Amen.
Gorgeous. Thank you, boys.
Okay, Mishkach.
Down?
Take your siduri with you.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's just yours.
I'd like to invite everyone to join with Simon, with the family extended, and in particular with Rafi and Sebi, in reciting Shehechianu in recognition of reaching this special day in their family's life, saying, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. I'd like to invite you to read, please, now for the first time and together in Hebrew on page 194. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher yatzar et ha'adam b'chokhmah uvarovo nekavim nekavim chalulim chalulim galui v'yadua lifnei chisei chevodecha she'im yipatech echad mehem o yisatem echad mehem i-efshar lehitkayem v'la'amod lefanecha Baruch atah Adonai rofei chol basar umafli la'asot. Blessings continue now on page 198.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lasvivina lechavin ben yom uven laila.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ukeach ivri.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam mitir asuim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai
Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kefufim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rokah haaretz al hamayim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechin mitzadeh gaiver.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish arumim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam anoten laya efkoah.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamivish yanai me'anai utnu mameh fapai. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shiasani B'Tselem Elohi. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shiasani ben chorim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shiasani Yisrael.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozeh Yisrael bigvura.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oteh Yisrael bitfara.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen. Shkoyach. As the final blessing indicated, it's usually at this section in the morning's service where time is spent studying some or other rabbinic text. Here, we've adapted this tradition to bring attention to a feature of the synagogue service and the prayers that we recite. And today I'm up to the letter H in our 2-minute Torah series. Several of us here in TBI are engaged in an examination of the Haftarot, the prophetic readings included in each morning service on Shabbat and festivals. Opportunities abound for those who would like to assist in writing short introductions to the readings and others who would like to skill up and learn how to chant the blessings both before and after the readings. These Haftarah, or prophetic readings, each taken from the second section of the Tanakh known as Nevi'im, generally exhort the Israelites to conform to the strict observance of the law and to pursue universal justice. Often the prophets, men like Isaiah and Jeremiah and Ezekiel, among so many others, rail against practicing a hollow faith, a mouthing of words, an insincere offering. Though often castigating and forewarning the people, the prophets also provide a vision of messianic times. In many instances, too, articulate a hope for return to Eretz Yisrael. It is widely known that the Haftarah, or prophetic reading, is thematically related to the week's parashah, or Torah portion. This is first mentioned in the Babylonian Talmud in Masechet Megillah, which states that the Haftarah should resemble the Torah reading. Today, either by virtue of reading a particular theme, or maybe even just having a word in common, the Haftarah always says something, if only a very little, to do with the Torah reading. For example, in this week's Haftarah from the prophet Jeremiah, he compares the cursed man to a dry bush and the blessed person to a lush tree. This makes really little sense in the scheme of things until you think about our portion, which concerns brachot and tochachot, blessings and curses. The Haftarah and its blessings attest to the truth and justice of the prophetic message, are often sung in a distinctive melody or trope different than the Torah reading, and have become closely associated with B'nai Mitzvah, though this is a very late development. What I regard as the most important thing to point out with respect to Haftarah is that it, in fact, permits the regular worshiper at synagogue to gain a kind of biblical literacy just by being in shul. You don't have to sign up for classes or hop on the Zoom at 8 o'clock at night. Just come to shul. When we combine the prophetic readings with the Megillot, that is, the scrolls like Esther and Ruth and Song of Songs and Lamentations, Ecclesiastes and Jonah, for example, these read on holidays add to the Torah reading abyssal chumash and a little bit of drasha, a little explanation from the rabbi. We can surprise even ourselves by learning Tanakh without even knowing we are. That's pretty good. That's all I want to say about that. Okay, that's our 2-minute Torah for this morning. I'd like to suggest we continue now on page 212. Baruch Shamar v'haya olam, Baruch Hu, Baruch Chosav v'reshit, Baruch Omer v'yoseh, Baruch Gozer u'mekayim, Baruch merachem al habriot,
Baruch meshalem sachatot nireh,
Baruch chai le'ad v'kayam lanetzach,
Baruch bodeh u'matzeh,
Baruch Shemo. Bishvachot v'zmirot negadelecha u'neshabechecha u'nefe'echa v'naskir shimecha v'namlichecha malkeinu Eloheinu Yachid chai ha'olamim Malach meshubach u'mavoar adei shemo hagadol Baruch atah Adonai Melech mulal B'tisha b'chot. We continue now responsively on page 215 with Ashrei. Ashrei yoshvei beitecha od yalelu chasela Ashrei ha'am shekach lo Ashrei ha'am sh'Adonai Elohav Tila leDavid aromimcha Elohai hamelech v'arachashimcha le'olam voed
B'chol yom ha'bacheka v'halel shimcha le'olam
Gadol Adonai u'molal me'od v'ligdulato ein cheker
Toledo yishabach ma'asecha u'gvoratecha
Hadar kevod
yagidu
hodecha v'divrei niflotecha asicha
Jesus noratecha yomeru u'gdolatcha
Zecher
asafena
avtuvcha yabiu v'tzitkatecha yiranenu
Hanun merachum Adonai erech apayim
Tov
u'toch
Adonai
aseh
lakol v'rachamav al kol ma'asav
Yoduch Adonai kol ma'asecha v'chasidtecha yevarchucha
Kivod malchutecha yomeru u'gvuratecha yidaberu
Lemondia livnei Adam gevorata u'kvod Adam
Malchutecha
malchuto
malchut kol olamim u'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'ador
Somdech Adonai lechol hanoflim וזוקף לכל הכפופים
Eichol elecha yisaberu v'tanoten lahem et ochlam b'ito
פותח את ידיך ומשפיע לכל חי
Tzadik Adonai b'chol derachav v'chasid b'chol maasav
קרוב אדוני לכל קרב לכל אשר יקראו באמת
Son Yirav Yaseh v'et shavatam yishma v'yoshiem
שומר אדוני את כל אוהביו ואת כל השעים ישמיד
Tilat Adonai yidaber pi v'yavarech kol basar shem kodsho le'olam voed v'anachnu nevarech ya me'ata le'adonai
ותקע שופר, הללו ונברך ינון, הללויה. הללו וטוב ומחול, הללו ומיני מעוקב,
The Sukkot Zimra, the preliminary service, draws to its conclusion as we continue in the second paragraph, page 222. Shochen ad marom vekadosh shemo vechatuv rananu tzadikim badonai laisharim navat tehila befi sharim titalal uvedivrei tzadikim titbarach uvilshon chasidim titromam uvekerev kedoshim titkadash uvemakalot revivot amecha beit Yisrael berina yitpa'ar shimcha malkeinu b'chol dor v'hador yishtabach shimcha le'ad malkeinu Ha'el HaMelech HaGadol v'HaKadosh b'shamayim u'va'aretz ki lecha na Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu Shir u'shvacha halel v'zimra ozu mamshala Netzach Gedula u'Gevura, Tila v'Tiferet Kedusha u'Malachut, Berachot v'Hodaot, Me'ata v'Ad Olam Baruch, Ata Adonai, El Melech Gadol Batishbachot, El ha'odaot Adon haniflaot habocher b'shirei zimra melech elchei ha'olamim.
Amen.
We rise, please, and turn to page 224.
Bagana, ubizman karim. ishtacha v'itpah v'troma v'tnaseh v'tada v'tale v'tala shemei d'kodisha b'richu le'elam v'kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata tamiran be'alma ve'imru amen.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Please be seated. Permit me to welcome those who've just joined us either online or here in our Beit Knesset. We've reached the Shacharit service proper. Turn to page 229.
You are praised, who rolls out the rough, raw clay of the universe into delicate vessels of light. And from nothing at all, we could perceive in a world that has turned old, a shimmering new creation right before our eyes, made this moment just for us. How much of life reveals your presence? How much of Torah unfolds from each new flower, from each new wave that breaks upon the sea? You are praised, who forms from the clay that cloaks our lives the delicate vessels which contain our light. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer Ha'orot.
Amen.
Amen.
Love your neighbour as yourself, he said. And light blinded we saw, the inner and outer worlds are one, as you are one. You spoke and we wrote. We reached for you down the centuries, your light moving before us, as we climbed, fell back and climbed again. Your Sinai of life. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher be'amo Yisrael b'hava.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על בניך, ושנתם לבניך ודברת בם בשבתך בביתך ודלתך בדרך ושבתך ובקומך, וקשרתם לעוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
ויאמר אדוני
משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל, ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית, על כנפי ביתיהם לדורותם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף בטיל תכלת, והיה לכם ציצית, וריתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטו אחרי אלוהיכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זולים אחריהם, למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים אלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Adonai Elohechem, amen. We continue individually in the Hebrew on page 238. ושמו קיים שיבחו אהובים תהילות ליל עליון ברוך הוא ומבורך משה ומרים ובני ישראל לכנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נוראתי לו אוסף אלך, נוראתי לו אוסף אלך, שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים, לשמחה לשמחה על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. יא בם בם בים בידי בם, יא בם בם בים בם, יא בם בם בים בידי בם, יא בם בם בים בם, יא אלי אלי אלי, יא בם בם בים בם, יא אלי אלי אלי, יא בם בם בים בם.
In anticipation of the morning's Amidah, we invite all to rise as we continue in the last paragraph, page 240.
צור ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ופדחי נומך יהודה וישראל. גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני, גל ישראל.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi tehillatcha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim Mekoneh HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevii Geula Lifnei B'neihem, L'man Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Mashiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayim eitim Atarav le'Hoshea. Mashiv Haruch u'Marit HaGeshem, Mazriach HaShemesh u'Marit HaTal. Mechakel Chayim b'Chesed, Mechayim eitim b'Rachamim Rabim. Somech Naflim Rofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umkayem Emunato Mishenei Afar. Bichamocha Bal Gevurot, Umidam Melech, Melech Mimit Mechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'emanat L'chayot Meitim. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaMeitim. Nekadesh et Shimcha ba'olam, Keshem shemati shemoto b'shmei marom, Hakatuv al yod neviecha, V'kara zeh ve'amar. שבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Would you please be seated? Welcome to those who have just arrived. We appreciate you being with us today. We're going to continue now on page 250 in the paragraph towards the bottom of the page.
ושמו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת תדותם ברית עולם.
ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ.
וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
We offer thanks, O God, for the Shabbat which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories glowing even in darkness, for Shabbat peace, born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessing, O God. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat.
רצה אדוני אלוהינו בעמך ישראל, תפילתם באהבה תקרב. ותהי לרצון תמיד עבודת ישראל עמך. אל קרוב לכל כואב פן אל עבדיך וחוננו, שפוך רוחך עלינו, ותחזינה עינינו ושובנה לציון. ברחמים ברוך אתה
On page 257, I'd like to invite you to read responsively with me by paragraph. And as we do so, and consider all the reasons we have collectively to be grateful for the lives which we enjoy, we can think about that which we share in common as well, though we come from different places, different backgrounds. For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations, modim anachnu lach, together for this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons,
modim anachnu
for the
lach.
joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements, modim anachnu lach.
For human community, our common past and future hope, for our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression, modim anachnu lach.
For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared, modim anachnu lach.
For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom, modim anachnu lach.
For human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose, modim anachnu lach.
We pray that we might live not by our fears but by our hopes, not by our words but by our deeds. Blessed are you, Eternal One, your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'er lehodot.
Let us not be discouraged by our failings. Let us take heart from all that is good and noble in our character. Keep us from falling victim to cynicism. Teach us sincerity and enthusiasm. Endow us with perception and courage that we may serve others with compassion and love.
Shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
We turn now to Seder Kriyat HaTorah, the service for taking out and reading from our Torah scroll this morning from this week's parasha, Bechukotai. Could I ask that you please turn to page 362, and those who have assigned the kavod, the honor of opening ark, please to make their way forward at this time.
אין כמוך באלוהים אדוני, ואין כמעשיך. מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. אדוני מלך, אדוני מלך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. ברחמים היטיבה ברצונך את ציון. תבנה חומות ירושלים, תבנה חומות ירושלים. כי בך לבד בטחנו, מלך אלרם ונישא, אדון עולמים. ויהי בנשוא אהרון ויאמר משה, קומה אדוני, ויפוצו אויביך, וינוסו משונאיך מפניך. כי מציון תצא תורה, כי מציון תצא תורה, ודבר אדוני
Adonai Elohecha, asher hotzeticha me'eretz, Mitzrayim mebet avadim. I am the eternal your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
Lo yiyeh lecha Elohim acherim al panai. You shall have no other gods beside me.
Lo tisa et shem Adonai Elohecha lashav. You shall not swear falsely by the name of Adonai your God.
Zachor et yom hashabbat lekadsho. Remember the Sabbath and keep it holy.
Kaved et avicha ve'et imecha. Honor your father and your mother.
Lo tirtzah, you shall not murder.
Lo tinef, you shall not commit adultery.
Lo tignov, you shall not steal.
Lo ta'aneh vera acha et shaker. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor.
Lo tamod, you shall not covet.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadol Adonai Iti.
Please be seated, even as the Torah has been put safely onto the bench. We are ready now to introduce the morning's Haftorah, Rafi, and morning's Torah portion. Sebi or Rafi, who's doing that? Rafi. Cool, man. You know, our students are given three principal responsibilities. One is to assist us in the leading of the service. Another is to be Balkore, to assist in the reading of the Torah. And the third is to be a darshan or darshanit. It's the most difficult assignment, I reckon, as 13-year-old young people attempt to make sense of an ancient text and to stand before a congregation. It's a daunting business. All we ask now of you is if you would give to Rafi your full attention as he introduces us to the weekly Sidra Bechukotai.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you all for coming today. My Torah portion is called, our Torah portion is called Parashat Bechukotai. And thank God I don't have to say that word too often. As complicated as that word may sound, this Torah portion has a very simple message to the people of Israel and for us here in Shul today. The message is, follow God's laws and you will be rewarded. If you don't follow God's laws, you will be punished. Or even simpler again, if you do good, you get good, and if you do bad, you get bad. However, we all know life is not as simple as this message. For example, sometimes we do good, but bad things can happen to us. I personally know of some great special people who have done great things, but unfortunately their lives were cut short by cancer. And moreover, we often hear on the news almost every day about people doing bad things and not getting the punishment they deserve. So that makes me wonder, is life actually this simple? And to be honest with you, I don't believe life is that simple. As we grow up, we will have bad experiences even if we didn't do anything wrong. And conversely, sometimes good things just happen for no reason at all. Life is full of ups and downs, and one thing that can navigate us through life is religion. For me today, Judaism has given me the opportunity to lead Shabbat service, celebrate my birthday. Our birthday. We even get to have a great big party and hopefully enjoy some kind gifts which will help me lay a foundation for my life moving forward. I'm so grateful for all these special rewards. I won't lie to you, learning another language and singing prayers has not been easy over the past year. But if we think of earlier where we spoke about doing good things and getting rewarded, it all makes perfect sense. Reading out of the Torah helps me feel a deep sense of belonging and connection to Judaism. It makes me feel a part of the religion and it makes me feel a part of the Torah. Despite already being in a very large family with 5 other siblings, today's reading from the Torah, along with sharing these prayers and blessings with everyone here in Shul, makes me feel as though my already very large family has got even larger being with all of you here today. Thank you all for coming, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shkoch, Rafi. Please save your applause to the rabbi's sermon. Vayahazor v'yagin b'yoshia l'chol ha'chosim bo v'nomar amen kol havu godel Eloheinu tnu chavod laTorah Yamod Reb Nissim Leib ben Gedalia La'aliyah harishona Baruch shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato v'atem adbekim b'Adonai Elohechem chayim kulachem hayom. For the honor of the first Aliyah, it's our pleasure to call forward Neil Cowan, this in recognition for his recent election to the committee of the Progressive Judaism Victoria. I'd also like to recognize, should there be with us in the Beit Knesset today, anyone who is celebrating a birthday, if they would like to come up and join in the Aliyah at this time. I know that there are a number of you out there somewhere. Not seeing anyone, we'll proceed. If our reading is found on page 967 in the Plaut Bamberger Torah commentary, page 967. Very good. Okay, want to join beside Neil? Baruch Adonai Borach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Borach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Vaed. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav. Sorry, you were pointing. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher b'ka banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם, איש כי יפלי נדר וערכך נפשות לאדוני. והיה ערכך זכר מבין 20 שנה ועד בין 60 שנה, והיה ערכך 50 שקל כסף בשקל הקודש, ואם נקבה היא והיה ערכך 30 שקל.
Beautifully read. Where are we finished? Where did we finish now?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam v'natat b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Misha berach avotenu v'imotenu hu yivarech et Nisun Leib ben Gedalia, and your name? Gabriela bat Sarah. She'alu hayom lechvod hamakom lechvod haTorah v'lechvod haShabbat HaKadosh Baruch Hu yivarech otam v'et kol mishpachatam v'yishlach bracha v'tzlacha v'chol masei yadehem im kol Yisrael acheim v'nomar amen. To wish you a very happy birthday and to wish you b'hatzlacha, good luck and everything good, b'chol tuv in all your communal endeavors, your personal life, your family should be well, and this year be profitable, productive, meaningful. Amen. Ya'amdu Kol Hashamashim Ha'ela. We'd like to invite those Shamashim on duty today. Yehudit Ruth Bat Yisrael, Yehudit Bat Avraham V'Sarah, V'Shoshana Bat Avraham V'Sarah, V'Naomi Bat Avraham V'Sarah, Le'aliyah HaShehinit. Part of the gears that turn the Temple Beth Israel synagogue reside often in the back of the room on Shabbat and festivals, here to greet members of the congregation, to assign kibbudim, to give honors out so that the services run smoothly and are beautiful for all to enjoy. And it's our great pleasure to invite Jaja and Judith and Rosemary and Denise, all to recite the bracha before and another bracha after the Torah. We continue our reading in chapter 27 of Leviticus, page 967, verses 5 through 8. Baruch Adonai Hamorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'chavanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torah. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Amen. V'mibein chamei shanim ve'ad ben 20 shana v'haya erkecha hazachar 20 shkalim v'lenekeva 10 shkalim ve'im mibein chodesh v'ad ben 5 shanim v'haya erkecha hazachar 5 shekalim kasef ulenekeva erkecha 3 shekalim kasef ve'im mibein 60 shana v'mala im zachar v'haya erkecha 15 shakel v'nekeva 10 shekalim v'machehu merkecha v'amito lifnei hakohen v'ha'arich oto hakohen al pi asher tasig yad hanader ya'arichenu hakohen.
Baruch atah
Amen. Misha berach avotenu v'imotenu yivarech otam v'et kol beitam v'et kol asher lahem. We want to join in wishing the Shamas sisters the very best on this Shabbat B'chukotai, and pray that you and your loved ones will, at this time and in the days and months and years ahead, enjoy everything good. B'chol tuv, hatzlacha, good fortune, briut, good health, and simcha and nachat, ruach, joy and contentment of spirit. And we thank you for your service to the congregation. And we invite others who might wish to play a part in this important mitzvah of hachnasat orchim, of welcoming our guests, to please come forward and identify yourselves immediately after the service. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Thank you, Neil. Ta'amod. Ruth bat Avraham Sarah Lelia Hashalishit. At this time, I would like to invite anyone who is here observing Yortzeit, who will be reciting Kaddish later in the day, should they wish to come forward at this time, to please join us on the bima. Rhonda, you know how this is done. Yeah. Okay, you've done this before. Oh, yes, that's it. Okay. We continue with verse number 9. Baruch Adonai Haborach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Haborach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Amen. Ve'im behema asher yakrivu mimena korban ladonai. Kol asher yitein mimenu ladonai yeh kodesh lo yechalifenu v'lo yamir oto tov v'ra ora betov b'mhamer yamir behema b'behema v'ayahu utamurato yeh kodesh Ve'im kol be'ma tamea asher lo yakrivu mimena korban ladonai ve'emid et habehema lifnei hakohen ve'rich hakohen ota ben tov uven ra Ke'erekecha kohen otah ben tov uven ra ke'erekecha kohen ken yihya ve'im go'ol yigilena vayasaf chamishato al erkecha ve'ish ki yakadish at the Beito Kodesh LaAdonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet b'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Misha berach avotenu v'imotenu hu yivarech et your Hebrew names? Abraham. Esther. Ve'Ruth bat Avraham. Aryeh ben Moshe Chaim. Shalu hayom lichbor makom lichbor Torah lichbor Shabbat HaKadosh Baruch Hu yivarech otam v'et kol mishpachtam. Vayishlach bracha v'tzlacha b'chol ma'aseh yadeihem im kol Yisrael achem v'nomar amen. May the one who blessed our ancestral fathers and mothers bless each of you on this Shabbat, Shabbat B'chukotai, as you come forward in recognition of the yortzeit of your loved ones. May God bless you with health and happiness, prosperity and peace. And may you also know comfort and consolation at this season and at all times. And once more we say, Amen. Amen. Thank you. God bless you both. Okay, we have a new reader coming to the plate. Thank God. Thank you. No, Jocelyn. Thank you so much. All right, we're now pleased to introduce to the readers' table our friend Ido, who has served as the tutor for both Rafi and Sebi these last many months. He will take us to the reading for the fourth aliyah of the Torah, and we call now uncles and aunties and cousins, Yamod, Yaakov ben Yosef Esther, V'tamod Ilana bat Sarah u'Mordechai v'Yinon ben Sason u'Miriam v'Sharon bat Mordechai v'Sarah le'aliyah ha'revit. It's a delight to call you each forward. You'll need a talit. Al knafav, knafecha. What's our first reading?
ואם משדה אחוזתו.
There we go. Here. Yep. Okay, cool. הברכה כתוב שם. נקרא ביחד. אחד, שתיים.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים, ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן.
ואם משדה אחוזתו, יקדיש איש לאדוני. והיה ערכך לפי זרעו, זרע חומר שעורים, 50 שקל כסף. אם משנת היובל יקדיש שדהו כערכך, יקום. ואם אחר היובל יקדיש שדהו, וחישב לו הכהן את הכסף, על פי השנים הנותרות עד שנת היובל, ונגרע מערכך. ואם גאול יגאל את השדה המקדיש אותו, ויסף 50 כסף ערכך עליו וקם לו. ואם לא יגאל את השדה, ואם מכר את השדה לאיש אחר, לא יגאל עוד. והיה השדה בצאתו ביובל, קודש לאדוני. כשדה החרם לכהן תהיה אחוזתו.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו את תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו.
ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן. Very good. מי שברך אבותינו ואמותינו הוא יברך את יעקב. מי זה יעקב? יעקב. ואילנה? אילנה נעים מאוד. וינון? ינון. וגם את שרון. הקדוש ברוך הוא יברך אותם בתקום משפחתם, ישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשי ידיהם עם כל ישראל אחיהם ונאמר אמן. מזל טוב, כל טוב, everything good on the occasion of your nephew's bar mitzvah, b'nei mitzvah for those kids. I know that this is a very special occasion for your family. It's also good and that everyone should be together. May God bless you with everything that you most aspire to. The blessings of life and happiness, family, peace and prosperity. Amen. Ve'amen.
Amen.
Mazel tov.
Thank you.
If you'll just come stand here. Well done, Sharon. Kids, well done. יעמוד מרדכי בן משה וטובה ותעמוד שרה בת שמחה ורחל ויעמוד שמעון בן מרדכי ושרה V'yamod Yishai ben Shimon, Moshe ben Shimon, v'indi Vered bat Shimon, l'Aliyah HaChamishit. What a great delight and pleasure it is to welcome to the Bima not only the boys' father, Simon, and their siblings, but also grandparents today on this special occasion in the family's life. Just from over there from the rack. All right. Ido, you have a small gallery.
I know.
You ready? 1, 2, 3.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן. ואם את שדה מקנתו, אשר לא משדה אחוזתו, יקדיש לאדוני, וחישב לו הכהן את מכסת הערכך, עד שנת היובל, ונתן את הערכך ביום ההוא קודש לאדוני. בשנת היובל ישוב השדה לאשר קנהו מאיתו, לאשר לו אחוזת הארץ. וכל ערכך יהיה בשקל הקודש 20 גרה יהיה השקל.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן. זה היום עשה אדוני נגילה ונשמחה בו. This is a day that God has made. Let us be glad and rejoice in it. Yashikoach. Mishaberach avotenu v'imotenu hu yivarech et kol hakruim hayom l'kvod hamakom l'kvod haTorah v'l'kvod haShabbat. I want to extend the family's blessings and congratulations to especially the grandparents Mordechai ben Moshe v'Tova et Sarah bat Simcha v'Rachel for the guidance, the love, and the nurturing that you have provided, not just to Sebi and to Rafi, but to those located over your shoulders and behind you. May God keep you in good health, that you might enjoy much nachat ruach, contentment from this brood and from all that you do. I want to congratulate especially Shimon ben Mordechai v'Sara, the father, Papa Shimon ben Mordechai v'Sara, Simon, kol hakavod, for all that you do and the direction that you provide and the support that you give to these children all. May God bless you, B'chol Tuv, with everything good, and Mazal Tov on this special occasion. And to your children who are all assembled around here, may God bless you in all your undertakings at school, in the workplace, in your future, granting you health and happiness, prosperity and peace. And may you forever be a good brother and sister to one another. And let us say, Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Boy, oh boy, this is exciting. Okay, we continue now. I'd like to ask the congregation to stand for the first of two occasions as I call forward the bar mitzvah boy number 1 for his aliyah to the Torah. Yamod, Yamod, Yamod habar mitzvah, Yamod habar mitzvah. Yamod, Yamod, Sebi ben Shimon, Aliyah HaShishit. You can be seated as Sebi finds his place in the Torah and resumes with the special blessing for this morning's 6th Torah reading. You can take your tzitzit, these fringes that extend from your talit, and you're going to mark the spot carefully. Sebi will be reading from Leviticus 27, beginning in verse 26.
Baruch et Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher b'chalbani mikol ha'amim v'natanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Ach becho asher yavuha la'Adonai bifhema lo yakdish ish oto imsho imseh la'Adonai hu. Ve'im bafema hatmea ufada ve'ekeha ve'yasav hamishito alav ve'im lo yigael ve'nika be'ekeha. Ach kol herem asher yaharim ish la'Adonai mikol shelo me'adam ufhema umiseh achuzato lo yamacheh velo yigael kol herem kodesh kodashim hula Adonai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'haya olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Well done. 100%. Please rise once more as we call his brother forward. Yamod, 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 Habar Mitzvah, Yamod, Habar Mitzvah, Yamod, 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 Rafi ben Shimon, Maftir Chazak. As we continue now with verses 29 through 34, which brings to a completion Sefer Vayikra, the third reading, I'm going to ask if everyone would remain standing, as is customary when finishing a Sefer of the Torah. And once it's completed, we all shout in these words, Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazeh. Get ready. Try to remember that, because we're going to call on you, and you especially, in just a minute. All right, Sarah, you ready? Rafi?
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'chal banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen.
Kol cherem asher yacharam min ha'adam lo yipadeh ma yumat v'chol masal ha'artz mizer ha'artz mipri ha'etz la'Adonai hu kodesh la'Adonai ve'im ga'o yig'al ish mimazro hamishito Yosef alav v'chol masal ba'kal ba'tzon kol asher yavor tachat hashavet hasiri yihye kodesh l'Adonai lo yevaker ben tov l'ra ve'lo yemirenu ve'im hame yemirenu ve'hayahu utmrato yihye kodesh lo yigael. Ele hamitzvot asher tziva Adonai et Moshe el bnei Israel
Behar Sinai, Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Guys, you can return to your seats if you wish to at this time. You stay up here. However, where's your brother? You stay up here. מי שברך אבותינו ואמותינו הוא יברך את בחורי הבר מצווה סבי בן שמעון ורפי בן שמעון שעלו היום לכבוד המקום לכבוד התורה לכבוד השבת. הקדוש ברוך הוא יברך אותם ואת כל משפחתם וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשי ידיהם. עם כל ישראל אחיהם ונאמר amen. That's to wish you both, and we'll have more to say later, good health and happiness, prosperity and peace, good fortune at school, hard work, and friendship. May God bless you with all of these and so much more. And let us say, Amen. Shkoach. Yamod ha-magbiya v'yamtamod ha-golelet. If you've been assigned the kavod of lifting the Torah, now's your moment. Is that you too, Simon?
Yeah.
You sure you've got the...
Listen, I just got pushed off the bimah 2 seconds ago,
right.
so it's got to be a bit of
So
room.
as the Torah is lifted, we once more rise. It's like a game of Jewish
Bend
aerobics.
the knees, yes.
Please.
וזאת התורה ששם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה וזאת התורה ששם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה
Please be seated. Once more, please be seated. Now, Sebi's going to introduce us briefly to the contents of the Haftarah portion, and the boys together recite it in English. Sha.
Firstly, I would like to welcome and thank you for all being part of my bar mitzvah. Our bar mitzvah. A special day here at Temple Beth. I would like to share with you some of my thoughts on today's Haftarah for Parashat Bechukotai. Today's Haftarah begins with a brief section in which Jeremiah, the prophet, discusses how God is always present for him and those who turn to idols will ultimately be punished. Born to a family of priests, Jeremiah grew up feeling that he was different from other people. He spent a great deal of time alone and did not want to be singled out by God, yet he ended up a prophet for 40 years. He was only 20 years old when he was prophesying during the reign of the kings of Judah. He said that Jerusalem would be overthrown by its enemies unless they repented for their bad ways. Praying to idols would eventually lead to losing their connection with God. After all, one of the main ways to connect with God is through prayer itself. Whilst I don't pray every day, in the last year leading into my bar mitzvah, I've discovered the beauty of prayer and how it can help you connect with God. For example, when Rafi and I sang the V'hafta prayer, it felt like I was connecting and talking to someone. This is a somewhat new experience for me, as me and my brother Rafi don't often take time of our day to pray. Perhaps we should develop a PlayStation game which helps us to pray more and connect with God. In this Haftarah, Jeremiah makes it very clear to the Israelite people that their heart was not in the right place. They had abandoned God and were destined to die. This relates back to today's Torah portion, Bechukotai, where the Jews were told that they will be blessed if they follow God and cursed if they are disobedient. I'm sure everyone here today is praying... Oh no. The central image of this Haftarah is that of the cursed man becoming like a dry bush, and the blessed man becoming like a lush tree. I'm sure everyone here today is praying to be a lush tree rather than a dry bush, and I truly hope God hears all our prayers and rewards us for many years to come. God has already rewarded me this year whilst preparing for my bar mitzvah with my football team, Carlton winning 8 of their first 10 games. So I guess I'll just keep on praying. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Okay, you're going to recite the blessing, remember, from your Siddur. Do you have that with you?
What page is it? Yeah, I've got it.
The blessing before and the blessings after the Haftarah can be found on page 372.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar bin vi'im tovim v'ratza v'divrehem haneh emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher batara uv'moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'invi ha'emet v'tzedek.
Amen.
Eternal One, my strength and my stronghold, my refuge in time of trouble. Nations from the ends of earth shall come to you and say, our ancestors inherited false gods, empty and utterly useless. How can human beings make gods? They are not gods at all. But therefore I am letting them know, once and for all I will make them know my might and power, and they shall know that I am called the Eternal. Judah's sin is inscribed with an iron pen engraved with a diamond point in the tablet of their hearts and the horns of their altars, to remind their children of their altars and sacred poles, near leafy trees on the high hills. I'll give you your wealth, all your treasures, as spoil to a country bumpkin, the Harite, because of the sin of your high places throughout your borders. You yourself will lose the heritage I gave you, and I will make you serve your enemies in a land you did not know. For you have kindled the flame of my wrath to burn a long time. Thus says the Eternal One, curse of those who trust in mortals, making mortal flesh their strength, turning their hearts from the Eternal.
They shall be like a stunned tree in the desert, never seeing when good comes, dwelling in dry places in the wilderness, in a salt land where no one dwells. Blessed are those who trust the Eternal, whose trust is in the Eternal. They shall be like a tree planted near water, sinking its roots by a watercourse, never noticing when the heat comes. Its leaves green, careless of time of drought, never failing to bear fruit. The human heart is of all things the most deceitful, so perverse. Who can understand it? I, the Eternal, search the heart and test the spirit, giving to all accordingly to their ways, according to the fruit of their doings. Those who gain wealth by unjust means are like a partridge brooding eggs that do not hatch. In the middle of life it will forsake them. At the end they are known to be fools. A throne of glory, exalted from the beginning in our holy shrine. Our hope of Israel, Eternal One. Those who forsake you shall be put to shame. Those who turn from you are written in dust. For they have forsaken the fountain of living waters in the Eternal. Heal me, Eternal One, only then shall I be healed. Save me, only then shall I be saved. For you are my praise.
As Rafi continues with the blessings after the Haftarah, may I ask those who have been given the honor of reading prayers for our country, prayer for the state and citizens of Israel, and for the congregation to please join us on the bima.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, zo kol ha'olomim, Zadik bechol hadarot, ha'el ha'ne'aman, ha'omer ve'oseh, Hamdabir Umkayim, Shekol Devarav Emet Vatzedek, Al Hatorah ve'al Havodah ve'al Hanvi'im ve'al Yom HaShabbat Hazeh, Shenatata Lanu Adonai Eloheinu, Likdusha ve'lemnucha lehavod u'letafaret. Al Hakol Adonai Eloheinu, Anachnu Modim La, Umevachim Otcha Yipara Shimcha Bevi Chol Chai, Tamid Deolam Va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Ye'elanu, 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 Ulechol Yisrael, Ye'elanu, Ye'elanu, Ulechol Yisrael, David Melech Yisrael, Chai v'kayim.
lots of sweetness, good times. I'd like to continue now and ask that those who are reciting prayers please come forward. Join the boys up here on the bima. The prayer for congregation. Is there something? Okay. Here you go. Nice and loud, please.
Source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us. Love of Torah, devotion in prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your steps. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadcha be'yirah na'avod.
Amen.
Amen. Very good. Country or?
For the
Israel
for
first?
our country, please.
No, this is Israel.
For our
Darren.
country?
Country.
Bavakasha.
Country. That's Randall.
Thank you.
Sorry, country first. Randall.
Country
and-
first. Okay.
Country and then Israel.
Tag team. Okay. Let us bless our country Australia and all its people. Let us have dreams in this historic land of dreamers. Let the hot winds from the desert fire our imagination. Let the red soil of the plains keep us rooted to the things that matter. Let the waters of our rivers, lakes and oceans flow into our hearts, giving us a deep understanding. Keep our eyes open to the beauty of this land. May we strive to keep its beauty present and strong.
Help us remember those who have lived in this land before us and those who have made in their home in more recent times. May we never be lazy in the work for peace. May we honour those who have died in defence of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they lead with justice and compassion. Let our compassion be like the encompassing coastlines of the continent. May acceptance, kindness and peace live steadily within the ancient and enduring land. Amen.
Amen. Beautiful. And Israel? Israel?
Yes.
Okay, Darren.
אבינו שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגו עלו, ברך את מדינת ישראל, ראשית צמיחת גאלתנו. הגן עליה בברת חסדך וברוס עיניך סוכות שלומך. ושלח אורך ועמיתך לרשעה, שריה ויועציך, ותסכנם ביצי טובה מלפניך. ונתת שלום בארץ, וישמחו שלום ליושביה, ונאמר אמן.
Amen.
I'd like to call to mind and heart, even amidst our festivities today, those who are not with us, those who are confined to the bed of illness, and recite prayers for healing, which appear in the Siddur on page 371. Shabbat B'chukotai, we call to mind Marion Meisner, Stu Fergie, and Albert Bentada, Madik Zukovsky and Edith Bat Binyamin, Irene, Simcha Bat Devora, Glynis Perry, Stella Edgar, Jody Sanders, Marcus Moss, Maurice Slonim, and Rachel Bat Avraham V'Sarah, Rosina Heller and Margaret Cochran, Shana Ben Kish, Clara Nakamakis, Ruby Ram, Francis Zucker, and Patrick Buckley, Raymond Rich, Robert Stanley, Adira Bat Rachel, Ilana Esther Bat Rachel, Yeshayu Gershon, Gabriel Ben Ilana Esther, Pinchas Ben Michal, Shmuel Ben Pinchas, Yisachar Menachem Ben Rachel, and Rachel Kay. If there are others whose names you'd like to include amongst those for whom we offer prayers today, please indicate aloud. Malka Bat Bella. Thank you. We proceed now with the service for returning the Sefer Torah to the Ark. And if you would please
Sebi.
give to Sebi to carry. We resume on page 374. Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado.
שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, העולם עומד. על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, העולם עומד. התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, העולם עומד. שלושה דברים, העולם עומד. על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים, על שלושה דברים.
like to call to the bima to sit beside Tammy, Matthew, Max, Charlie, those who are going to be opening the ark in just a few moments. You can be seated here in front. We'll need you on call and ready to go. Yafa. I'd like to take this opportunity to join with the family and its many friends in wishing Mazel Tov to our B'nai Mitzvah celebrants, Sebi and Rafi. Kol HaKavod. I've not known these guys for very long, but I have enjoyed meeting with them. They're always good fun, good value. I liked watching as you worked closely with Ido, your bar mitzvah tutor, and with your father. And you together ran through the tape, reaching the finish line just in time. Guys, in just 2 weeks in our Jewish calendar, our people will celebrate the festival of Shavuot, the poor stepsister, the Cinderella of Jewish festivals, known also by its name Chag HaKatzir. In the land of Israel, our historical biblical homeland, it is part of a vast agricultural celebration. Synagogues are decorated with greenery. Garlands of flowers are worn in the hair of kibbutzniks, and baskets of fruits, or bikurim, are collected and displayed. Our Mishnah, a master work dating back some 2,000 years, describes how these bikurim, these first fruits, were brought from communities throughout Israel in a glorious long parade and presented to the Kohanim, the priests in Jerusalem. And when setting out from their homes, from their villages, the Jews would proclaim, Kumu v'na'alet Sion el Beit Hashem Elokeinu. Come, let us go to the house of God. And off they go. The fruits from each of the 7 species of Eretz Yisrael gathered in a reed basket of a kind, ready to be given to the priest. The Mishnah describes what happened once they finally reached Jerusalem, perched as it is on high. And it says, those who lived near Jerusalem would bring fresh figs and grapes, and those who lived far away would bring dried figs and raisins. An ox would go out in front of them, his horns bedecked with gold and with an olive crown on its head. A flautist would play before them until they would draw close to Jerusalem. And when they in fact drew closest to Jerusalem, they would send shlichim, messengers in advance, and they would adorn, that is, decorate these bikurim, these baskets and these fruits. The governors and chiefs and treasurers of the Beit HaMikdash, the temple, would go out and greet them, and according the rank of the entrance, they would go forth. All of the skilled artisans of Jerusalem would stand up before them and greet them and say, Chaverim, our friends from such and such a place, we welcome you in shalom, we welcome you in peace. Guys, to me, this sounds wonderful. Before I came to be rabbi here at Temple Beth Israel, my title was Educational Adventurist, and I spent as much of my time outdoors as I possibly could, even having a stint as educator on a farm stay holiday residence, welcoming students from around Australia and around the world, and me teaching them Australian culture, me teaching them how to make damper bread and swinging a billy, me moving horses from paddock to paddock. Can you imagine that? I love fun and immersive and hands-on Judaism, and that is a lived experience that happens today in Israel. and towards which we have to work super hard living where we do, so far from Eretz Israel in Australia. It would not have been our preference as a Jewish people to have been forcibly exiled from the land in around the time of the 1st century. And if Shavuot is, as I've described it, an agricultural festival, our exile from the land requires a reimagining of its meaning. And therefore, we have Shavuot become what's known today as Zman Matan Toratenu, a time of the giving of Torah. And like the bringing of the first fruit, the giving of Torah is filled with drama. Maybe you'll recall how it's described, both in the Torah, in Sefer Shemot, in the book of Exodus, in chapter 20, and in the Midrash, where you see a collection of law and colorful tales, and where we learn that when Torah was given, Vayecherad hahar, the mountain trembled, and it was shrouded with smoke. The people too trembled. Not a cow was heard to moo, not a bird was heard to chirp. Everything was, our ancestors too, your ancestors, still. Their heart beat kilev echad, as if one heart. And just that moment, a single word was heard. Anochi, I am the Lord your God. And once that word was heard, the world was forever changed. That moment was when heaven and earth met. And all this was going on when the people of Israel, when given Torah, said one word to, Na'aseh, we will do it. These people didn't ask to see the T's and C's, the terms and condition. They didn't inquire whether there was a return policy. They accepted the Torah and pledged to perform its mitzvot, to keep its religious obligations. That pledge has not been canceled. It is still our pledge, Sebi and Rafi. In our communities, there are people who observe Torah very, very meticulously. Kedat Kedin, every law and every teaching. They study Torah every day, and they walk to the rhythm of Jewish time each week and throughout the year. But many more do not. This morning, it is my hope that you guys will increasingly come to regard Judaism, its practice, its teachings, and its values as a part of your life. Where do you live? I have no idea where that is. Is it far? It is far. That means it's more difficult for you guys to be part of Jewish community. But you know what? We're all far, in a sense, from our Masorah, from our tradition, from our teachings. And there are lots of tools in many ways to draw nearer to Torah. And I want to encourage you to do so, for the Torah, which is yours, which you held today, can be an anchor as you go through the difficult waters of teenage life. You're going to come across heaps of stuff. The Torah will help you. It will guide you when you take your place in the wider world, which is often challenging. And it will provide to you lots of meaning when ultimately you establish your own families in the distant future, just as your father and your siblings are a family. So your ancestors said, Na'aseh, we will do it. On the occasion of your bar mi, it is my prayer that you will choose likewise. Choose bracha, choose blessing, and stay clear of the tochachot, the curses. My hope is that you will be blessed with a life of Torah and chuppah and masim tovim, good deeds, and in this way forever be a source of nachas to your family who have come out in great numbers to be with you today. They must really like you. And not only a source of nachas, but a bracha, a blessing to your people. This isn't a registration drive, but we need you. We need all of you all to be a part of the community, to take your place amongst Am Yisrael, the Jewish people. You will sustain us, and our way of life will sustain you. May you be given the gift of life in years, orach yamim, so that you might enjoy what we hope is going to be a full and eventful and fun and healthy life for you both. Can I ask you please to come forward and join me in front of the Aron Kodesh? Guys, would you open the ark, please? Stand here, facing me, facing me. Could I ask everyone to please rise? Of course. Let's go. Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Pepper, we continue now on page 586 and join in Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדוני, לתת קדושה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עמונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יראה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Please remain standing as we honor the memory of those who have died at this season or who have passed away in recent days. We remember Gilbert Biondi, Howard Freeman, husband of Lorraine, father of Neil, Jeremy, Melanie, and Karen Zichronah Livracha, past president of Temple Beth Israel, who was laid to rest only yesterday. We remember Anthony House Peters, George David Crowitz, Dora Lefkowitz, Simon Lieberman, Robert John Sobey, Agatha Segeti, George Upton, and in Israel, the victims of the Elad terror attack on the 5th of this month, Oren Ben Yiftach and Boaz Gol and Yonatan Havakuk. We remember Henri Alkalai, Beatrice Basson, Lily Daskell, Edward Exelman, Maurice Elijah, Betty Evans, Ian Fraser, Emmanuel Fredman, Judy Fremder, Bob Frieden, Celia Freshman, Heinz Gartenman, Vaughn Hastings Goddard, Maurice Gold, Benno Goldband, Reginald Haywood, Rosa Hoffman, Herbert Israel Eddie Komisarov, Alice Koranyi, Erwin Paul Kraus, Gregory Kurtzer, Rita Lee, Leonora Mann, Anthony Marks, Ernest Marks, Frederick Moore, Esther Moss, Ethel O'Brien, Leah Paz, Michael Matthias Pearl, Mildred Ross, Saul Same, Solomon Siegel, Ethel Sharp, Morris Schinberg, and Lorraine Topol, and June Tenenbaum. Are there others whose Yortzites observe at this time and whose name you'd like to have included on our list? Thank you. Kaddish appears on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah v'yalmad divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechonu v'yomechonu v'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen Yehei shemei rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei alamaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh V'itadar v'italev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran b'alma v'imru amen Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Won't you please be seated? Yeah, that way I wouldn't have reached underneath that.
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome everyone that's joining us here and online, whatever brings you to TBI this morning, whether marking mourning or celebration. We hope you find comfort being in community. And I'd ask Rafi and Sebi, would you like to join me up here, please? So a lot of people in the room, I understand, know Rafi and Sebi very well, but for those who have just met them recently, we know they go to Balcombe Grammar and they're living in Mount Martha, and you're in the local football team, which is Mount Martha Footy Club. And why do you enjoy it so much?
Because it's fun.
And?
I like playing with my friends and...
What I received in our Bar Mitzvah notes is that you like the team because they're on top, yeah? Because they're winning all the time. So we ask all our Bar Mitzvah students to reflect on their journey and what they've learned along the way. And in your reflections, I remember hearing that Sebi, you said my Bar Mitzvah, no, I think it was Rafi said, my Bar Mitzvah experience has been one of the most fun experiences of my life. Which is a great thing to hear at TBI. And they also pointed out that Idor, that was their tutor, did a marvellous job, and they faced a lot of difficulty having to do it over Zoom so much, which I understand is very difficult, to be learning a new language, learning all the cantillation. And we quote, Idor has taught me almost everything I know, which is a bit of a worry, but anyway. And so you're following in the footsteps of your older siblings, Jesse and Ziggy and Indy, who are here with you today, and we look forward to seeing Kiki up here shortly in the coming years. So to mark today, we have a gift pack for both of you. I'll just grab this one out. For Rafi. There you are. Some certificates in there, and for High Holidays, a complimentary books, prayer books for you. And for those who haven't noticed, it was pointed out to me earlier that we're actually, all three of us are kind of matching with our shoes. And Rafi has the blue shoes and the blue talit stripes, and Sebi has the black shoes and the black talit stripes. Very coordinated. Perfect. Mazal tov, you can sit.
Thank you.
So as Rabbi has already mentioned, Shavuot is upon us in 2 weeks. So that's the Tikkun Leil on the Saturday the 4th of June, just 2 weeks away. And then, of course, a morning Shachrit service on the Sunday the 5th. Next door last night enjoyed for Lag BaOmer, a bonfire, annual bonfire party in the courtyard, and for Shavuot we'll be meeting again for Sundays. Details to follow. I'd like to just talk about the Pesach appeal for a moment. I understand we have received some donations and we're very grateful for that, but just to continue our wonderful programming like the bonfire party and all our services that happen on a regular basis, to continue those good things happening, we'd just like to ensure the future of our congregation. So if you haven't already, please do consider generously giving for our community. And I think that's enough, is that? Yep. So Shabbat Shalom. Thank you very much for joining us. You may leave your Sidurim on your seats and join us for Kiddush next door after the final song.
Thank you. I don't know what. Oh, yes.
We'll join together with the words of Adon Olam on page 625.
Yeah, I'll let you lead it.
Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'Terem Kol, Yetzir Nivra, Let Nasa. Azai melech shemo nikra, ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado im lof nora enu haya ve'hu והוא יהיה בתפארה. אדון עולם השם מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא וחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי כפות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה. אדון עולם השם מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נשא וחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי כפות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה בתפארה, והוא היה והוא הווה בתפארה.
Kiddush follows. We ask if everyone would please rise and be reminded to join us immediately following in the Salom Hall. Thank you for that beautiful, beautiful Kiddush. Guys, coming up here. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael ata ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam brit olam beini uvein v'nei Yisrael oti le'olam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et haaretz uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash Zachor et Yom HaShabbat l'Kadesho. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Al Kain Beirach Adonai et Yom HaShabbat v'Yakadesheu. Savri Chavorai. Borei Pri HaGafen together. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam. Borei Pri HaGafen.
Amen.
You got my grape juice. No, I got yours. I don't know. Okay. And let's join in Hamotzi. Put your hands on the challah and say Hamotzi Lechem Min Haaretz together. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Hamotzi Lechem Min Haaretz. Shabbat Shalom. Please take this occasion to give your Shabbos greetings to those seated to your left.